Good morning, dear students. Welcome to the class. Let's quickly recap what we have discussed in the previous session. In the previous session, we have discussed about physical and chemical changes, where you have learned that a physical change is a change where no new substance is formed and these changes are easily reversible. So we call them as temporary changes also. Then we have discussed that chemical changes are the changes in which new substances are formed. So these changes are irreversible in nature and therefore we call them as permanent changes. Then we have discussed about elements. An element is a substance which cannot be broken down into simpler substances by any physical or chemical means. Then we have discussed about the different types of elements. Broadly classifying, the elements are of two types, that is metals and non-metals. We have discussed in detail about the characteristics of metals and non-metals. We have discussed that metals are lustrous in nature, that means they have shining property. Then we have discussed that they are ductile and malleable in nature. Ductile and malleable in nature means they can be drawn into wires and it can be beaten into sheets. Then we have discussed that metals, they produce a particular sound called metallic sound or metallic clink when struck against hard surface. Then we have also discussed that metals, they are good conductors of heat and electricity. That means they allow the passage of heat and electric current. Then we have discussed about the characteristics of non-metals as well. The non-metals, they are non-lustrous. They are actually dull looking. Then we have discussed that they are non-ductile and non-malleable in nature. They cannot be drawn into wires and cannot be beaten into sheets. They are soft, they are brittle in nature. So if beaten, they will be converted into powdered form. Then we have discussed that non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electric current, except graphite, which is a good conductor of electric current. Then we have also discussed that non-metals, they are non-lustrous in nature. That is, they do not produce any sound when struck to hard surface, like metals do. Then we have discussed about the various criteria given by J.J. Berzelius for writing the symbols of the elements. His first criteria was the symbols are assigned for the elements by taking the first letter of their English name. For example, C. C is the symbol for carbon. We always write it in capital letter. Another example is boron. Boron, the symbol for boron is capital B. Then the second criteria was there are certain elements for which the first letter is common. So in such cases, the first letter with any other letter of their name is taken as symbol, and the second letter should not be common. For example, for calcium, we use the symbol Ca, where C is capital in letter and A is in small letter. In case of chlorine, we write capital C, small l. Then comes the third criteria. The third criteria for writing the symbol was there are certain elements for which the symbol is derived from their Latin name. For example, for copper we use the symbol Cu, capital C, small u. It comes from its Latin name cuprum. For gold we write Au, capital A, small u. The symbol comes from its Latin name, aurum. Now today we are going to discuss in detail about compounds. In the previous session we have also discussed about example of water, where you have learnt that water is made up of only one kind of molecule, that is water molecules. So water is also a kind of pure substance. Now let's see the different types of pure substance. There are two types of pure substances, that is elements and compounds, which we are going to study today. In your previous session you have learned about elements, and today in detail you will be learning about compounds. We have discussed about some of the examples in the previous session. We have discussed about the atoms of same element. For example, copper. It is an element showing atoms of same element. Helium, it also shows the atoms of the same element, helium. Sodium, it shows the atoms of sodium. So that is a sodium element. Now, the other part you see that it is showing molecules of the same element. One hydrogen combining with another hydrogen, that is a bond is forming. It is forming a molecule of the element hydrogen. In the second example, you can see three atoms of oxygen are combining together and they are bonding together to form ozone. Now let's talk about the characteristics of pure substances. A pure substance has a definite composition. For example, as you can see here, a piece of gold. It is composed of only atoms of gold. As you can see here in the module, all the atoms which are visible, they look similar. So they all are alike. Similarly, if we talk about copper, here also in case of copper wire, all the atoms which it shows is of copper. In case of iron, it is showing all the atoms of iron. In case of gold, it is showing all the atoms of gold. So, an element is composed of same kind of atoms bound together. Then, another property of a pure substance is it has definite set of properties. For example, all atoms of gold have same properties. As you have seen in the previous module, that the gold atoms are all alike. So each atom of this gold shows the same property. It has definite set of properties. But when we talk about water, water is showing two different kind of atoms. A molecule of water is showing two different kind of atoms. But each molecule shows all the properties of a molecule of water. If we take a drop of water from a glass of water or a bucket of water or from the pond or from the river, the molecule of water will remain the same. Its properties will be same. It's not going to change. Then another property of pure substance is they have fixed melting and boiling point. When we talk about ice, ice is the solid form of water. it has fixed melting point, that is, it starts melting at 0 degree Celsius. While when we talk about water, when water is boiling, when it is heated, it will start boiling, and the liquid state of water, when it is boiling and changing into gaseous form, the temperature at which it is changing into gaseous form or vapor form is called as boiling point, and the boiling point of water is 100 degree Celsius. Then another property of pure substance is they cannot be separated into its components by physical or chemical means. That is, pure substances cannot be separated by physical means. When we talk about elements, then too it cannot be separated by physical means. And when we talk about compounds, then also we cannot separate it by physical means. But when we talk about compounds, compounds can be separated by chemical means. For example, molecules of water cannot be split into oxygen and hydrogen atoms by any physical means. But when we talk about electrolysis, by this method, water can be broken down into its simpler form, that is hydrogen and oxygen. Otherwise, elements cannot be separated by any chemical means, nor the compounds can be separated by physical means, but they can be separated by chemical means. Then, let's talk about compounds. What are compounds? This is the second type of pure substance. We say a compound is a pure substance. It is made up of fixed number of elements. Two or more elements are chemically combined together. How they are combined? They are chemically combined together. So what is a compound? A compound is a pure substance which is made up of fixed number of two or more elements which are chemically combined together. That is why the compounds can be broken down into simpler form by chemical means. So, we can define a compound as a compound is a substance made up of two or more elements. They are chemically combined together in fixed ratio. Now moving on with the characteristics of compound. A compound is made up of two or more elements. As you can see here in the module, water molecule or compound showing two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. Another example shows one atom of nitrogen and three atoms of hydrogen. So here you can see that water is made up of elements hydrogen and oxygen. What is making water? Two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. Another example is showing one atom of nitrogen and three atoms of hydrogen, which means it is forming ammonia gas, NH3. So, with this we conclude that a compound consists of two or more elements which are chemically combined together. They are chemically combined together in fixed ratio. In the first case, you can see it is 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. So the ratio is 2:1. That is the fixed ratio in which water is formed. When we talk about ammonia, it is showing 3:1. 3 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of nitrogen. Then another property of compound is it is always homogeneous. For example, all the samples of a compound are identical in composition and have the same properties throughout. For example, if we see in the first part of the module, it is showing a glass of water. So, in this glass of water, the molecules of water are spread throughout. The composition is definite. It is homogeneous. The composition is same throughout the complete water. If we take a drop of water, it will show the same 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. If we take a spoon of water, there also the molecular composition will be same, that is 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen, and the complete glass also shows the same composition throughout. So, this compound is always homogeneous in nature. Another characteristic of a compound is that compound can be broken down into simpler type or simpler form of the element by chemical means, but not by physical means. That means we cannot break down a compound by applying any sort of physical means like filtration or distillation or sublimation. These are the physical means of separating the components. So by using these methods, we cannot separate the components of a compound. We cannot break down the components of a compound. But by applying chemical means, we can definitely get the simpler form of the compound. For example, the element hydrogen can burn and element oxygen helps in burning. So, these two components, they can be broken down into simpler form. We can say that the elements which have joined together, which are bound together to form a compound, can be separated back after the formation of a compound. For example, water cannot be separated into its constituent elements, that is hydrogen and oxygen, by applying physical means like filtration, boiling, distillation. By any of these methods, we cannot get back the constituent elements like hydrogen and oxygen. However, water can be broken down into its constituent elements by applying chemical means. So, when we pass electricity through water which is mixed with a small amount of an acid, when the water is made acidulated, when we add small amount of acid in water, it becomes acidulated water, and when through this acidulated water we pass electric current, the molecules of water split to give rise to hydrogen and oxygen. So this is a chemical process which is known as electrolysis, and by this method we can get the constituent elements like hydrogen and oxygen which has made compound water. Then talking about the properties of the compound. The properties of the compound which is formed from its constituent elements is entirely different. What it is? It is entirely different. For example, Here you can see hydrogen is combining with oxygen to form the compound water. So water which is formed is a compound, and hydrogen and oxygen are the elements. Well, these two elements, they are gaseous in nature. What is the state of these two elements? It is gaseous in nature. But after these two have combined together and they have formed water, what is the change in state taken place? It has formed liquid state. That is, water is formed. So, we say that here the element hydrogen, it can burn. The element oxygen, it helps in burning. Whereas the compound which is formed is neither burning nor it helps in burning. That means the property is entirely different. Hydrogen, it burns. Oxygen helps in burning. Now these two elements, the constituent elements which have combined to form water, when they have formed water, the property of hydrogen is lost and oxygen property is also lost. The compound which is formed, the compound water which is formed has entirely different property. It is neither burning nor supporting burning. Instead, it extinguishes fire. It is non-supporter of burning. Similarly, I'll give you another example, sodium and chlorine. Both these elements are poisonous in nature. These are poisonous substances. But when they combine together and form the compound, that is sodium chloride, its property is entirely changed. The sodium chloride which is formed is used in our food to add flavor to the food. So if both the constituents were poisonous in nature and a compound is made out of it, if the property is not changing, what will happen? That poisonous substance will go into our body? But relax, it's nothing like that. We are learning that compound has entirely different properties from its constituent elements. That means sodium and chlorine, which were poisonous in nature when they were as elements, and after they have combined together and formed the compound, their property is changed. They are no more poisonous. Instead, they are used to add flavor to our food. Then, there is one activity in your book for which you cannot perform this experiment at home. When the school classes will resume, we'll do this activity maybe in the laboratory, or maybe we will try doing it in the lab, where we will take an inverted dry gas jar. The method is same as you are seeing the module. Two gases, hydrogen and oxygen. As it is shown in the module, it is not taken the same way. Actually, it is taken in the dry gas jars. One gas jar will contain hydrogen and another gas jar will contain oxygen. Both the gases are mixed together by inverting one gas jar above the other. So, what will happen? Hydrogen gas molecules will combine with oxygen gas molecules. But there won't be any chemical bonding taking place because we have not applied any chemical mean here. So, what will happen? Only the diffusion of gas may take place. Now, once we lit it, if we bring a burning candle or a splinter near the gas jar, and we lit it for some time. After it is lit, you will find that the container has become a bit hot, and slowly you remove the burning splinter or burning candle, leave it for some time, let it cool down. Once it starts cooling down, you will find droplets of water on the inner walls of the gas jar. So this shows the formation of water, the compound water, which has formed by applying chemical means. Hydrogen gas has combined with oxygen gas when it is lit, and it is forming droplets of water. That is, the formation of compound is taking place. And the properties of these components are entirely different. Hydrogen, if we talk about, you have just now learned that hydrogen, it supports, it is burning, it burns. And oxygen, it is supporter of burning. But water which is formed is non-supporter of burning. So the property is entirely different. So with this, we can conclude the properties of the components are entirely different from that of the compound which is formed. As you have seen here, in case of hydrogen and oxygen, their properties are entirely different from that of the compound which is formed. Now, after learning the characteristics of compounds, we can now come to the conclusion that why water is regarded as a compound. Can you think and tell me why water is regarded as a compound? Do you think it is a compound or it is an element? What do you think? It is an element or a compound? Okay, I will tell you. The various reasons to tell you why water is regarded as a compound. It has definite ratio. That means hydrogen and oxygen, when they form water, they exist in the ratio 1:8 by weight. That is, by mass, it will be 1 gram of hydrogen and 8 grams of oxygen. That is why we also say that water has homogeneous composition. While learning about the characteristics, we have discussed that the compound is always homogeneous in nature. That means throughout the compound, throughout the content, you will find the same composition. The molecules of water will remain same throughout the content. It is not going to change. Another reason why do we regard water as a compound is the constituents of water, they cannot be separated by physical means. Physical means like filtration, boiling, sublimation, etc. How they can be separated? We have just now learnt. Yes, it can be separated by applying chemical means. Which chemical means we have applied for separating the hydrogen and oxygen elements, the constituents from its compound? We have applied the method of electrolysis. We have passed electric current in acidulated water. We have learned that when electric current is passed through acidulated water, the compound will break down into its constituent elements, that is hydrogen and oxygen. Then we have discussed that the properties of water are entirely different from the properties of its constituent elements. Yes, we have discussed that hydrogen, it burns. When we talk about oxygen, it helps in burning. But the compound which is formed, the compound water which is formed, the properties of water are entirely different. That is, water, it does not support burning. Neither it burns nor it supports burning. So these are the three reasons why do we regard water as a compound. Now, let's talk about the difference between elements and compounds. As in the previous class, we have discussed about elements, and today we have discussed about compounds. So now we can conclude with the difference that elements are made up of one kind of atoms and compounds are made up of two or more different kinds of atoms. Then elements cannot be broken down into simpler substance. We cannot break them down into simpler substance by applying any physical or chemical means. Why we cannot break it down? Because elements are made up of simplest particles, that is atoms. But when we talk about compounds, compounds can be broken down into simpler substances by applying chemical means. For example, water can be broken down into its constituent elements by passing electric current in acidulated water. Then another difference is elements have their own set of properties, whereas the properties of compound differ from those of their elements. For example, if we talk about oxygen element, it has its definite set of properties, that is, it supports combustion, that is burning, it is helpful in respiration. But when we talk about compounds, the same oxygen which has the property of supporting burning and also which is helpful in respiration, when it combines with hydrogen which burns, which is inflammable, then the compound which is formed has entirely different property. That is, it neither supports burning nor itself it burns. Some of the examples of elements are hydrogen and oxygen, whereas in case of compounds we have the example like water, sodium chloride. So with this we come to end of this class, in this session. Stay safe, stay home, keep eating healthy food to boost your immunity, keep learning about elements and compounds. God be with you all.